Here in front of me is an interesting Chromebook for sure, and we'll chalk this up under things that we should have done before but forgot. And it's easy to see why. The Galaxy Chromebook 2 360 that's sitting in front of me is a confusing entry-level device with some non-entry-level parts, and it's just as confusing as Samsung's entire presence in the Chromebook market right now across the board. But we have one here in the office. We went out and bought one, and we're going to unbox it right now, and we're actually going to give this one away once we're done with it, but you'll have to stick through to the end of the video to find out about that. Let's get into it. All right, so in the intro, I said a lot about this being confusing, and it really is, because if we kind of go back and trace the Galaxy Chromebook line, it started out with a bang, right? In 2020, it was introduced, Galaxy Chromebook, super thin, all aluminum, gorgeous red build, 4K AMOLED screen, like all of this stuff. It was awesome, and then it just kind of fell apart, in the actual usability of it. And then they followed that up with the Galaxy Chromebook 2, which was again another red convertible, but kind of toned down. So QLED screen, a little bit more plastic in the chassis. They got rid of the stowable stylus. You get it. They kind of toned it down, but it was still the Galaxy Chromebook 2, which was weird. And both of them were 360-degree convertibles. And then you had the Galaxy Chromebook Go, which was actually larger than the first two that came before it and was less powerful and more of an entry-level device. So that was confusing, and it was not a convertible device. So that was kind of weird. You would think Go would mean like lighter, smaller, more portable. It was none of those things. And then this comes along, the Galaxy Chromebook 2 360. Well, there is a Galaxy Chromebook 2, and guess what? The Galaxy Chromebook and Galaxy Chromebook 2 were both 360-degree convertibles. So I don't know. The naming of this device to me feels indicative of where Samsung is with Chromebooks right now. Like, not really sure. We're just throwing stuff out there. And so when this device came out and we kind of saw the specs and stuff, it was easy to forget it and kind of forget about it. But at the end of the day, Samsung Chromebooks garner a lot of attention. And this one's got a couple interesting like little features to it that it's probably worth checking out, even though the name is super confusing. So we just went and bought one. We tried to get Samsung to send some, and they were so just not interested in doing anything with it that I don't even know if they had review units of it or anything. So it was a weird interaction. I love these little things when they tape over these odd hinges here. You'd think by now I'd have this down pat, but even for somebody that does this all the time, some of these things are weird. I don't want to destroy the box because, like I said, we're going to give this thing away. So make sure the box stays intact here. And, at least on the top, there's some nice branding up here. I don't know. If you sense my frustration, it's because I think Samsung could do a lot more in the Chromebook space. They do a lot of cool stuff in the Windows space. And I just want to see them do the same thing in the Chromebook space. I feel like they tried really hard with the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook, and then it didn't go so well, and so they just kind of left. So yeah, a nice little two-piece charger it looks like here, which is always nice. So similar to what you would get back in the day when we got phone chargers. Getting a little brick here, I would guess it says super fast charging. Not just fast charging, super fast charging. I cannot get an eye on that. I guess I'm getting old. It's hard under these lights sometimes on these chargers, but my guess is 30 watts or something like that. But it's nice to have a two-piece charger. I do enjoy that. Let's see. We'll get this Chromebook out. And I said right at the beginning, there's some interesting stuff with this Chromebook. That's just your paperwork. That is it in the box. It's got a Quad HD, I think 12.2-inch display on it. So interesting, and an entry-level device that feels pretty entry-level as soon as I pull it out. No aluminum here from what I can tell, but nice looking. That's kind of Samsung's MO in this lower end range. I think we picked this up for $350. They tend to take entry-level components and make decent feeling, decent looking Chromebooks out of them. This is no exception. This looks nice. Nice squared off edges. Samsung branding, so nothing out of the ordinary here. You got obviously your 360 hinges. That would be a bummer if a 360 device didn't have those. Nothing across the bottom. This is a N450 processor, Intel N450, so a Gemini Lake processor, and so you're not going to get like crazy performance out of this. So there's spec'd up Gemini Lakes, and then there's the the Pentium Silver that would be a Gemini Lake. This is not any of those things. This is the straight base level Gemini Lake. You can't get it in any other spec. And then you've got the 4 gigs of RAM that come inside of it. And let me check on storage, because I want to say, let's see, 4 gigs, 128 gigs of storage. So that's at least something. But on the interior, we've got a nice black interior here. Decently clicky keys. Not a ton of give here in the keyboard. So like, kudos. I've said this a bunch of times on entry-level Chromebooks. If you're going to build it out of plastic, fine. Just make it out of decent plastic and then reinforce where it needs to be reinforced. This thing feels pretty good. I mean, relatively sturdy. You can see there's a little bend in the chassis here. A tad. But not a lot. It doesn't feel wildly unbalanced. A lot of times, all plastic and then a glass screen obviously makes everything kind of feel tipsy. It's a little heavily weighted there. Then as a tablet, like, this feels pretty decent. Not exactly one-handed use, but light enough that you can pick it up and use it. So not too shabby there. Let's see, port selection. We've got a Kensington lock here. Sometimes it's interesting, the devices that get these. Headphone, microphone jack, USB Type-C, micro SD card slot. Over on the other side, USB Type-A, another USB-C, and then your power button. Volume rocker was over here. We'll check out the camera and stuff in just a second. Downward shooting speakers. And again, nothing else on the bottom here. So let me get this thing powered on. See how that keyboard works. See how the trackpad kind of feels like. And we'll see what this QHD screen on a 12-inch display looks like. All right, so as per usual, I went through, set up this Chromebook, and can form some pretty quick opinions on it. So let's start with the good stuff. For one, this screen is pretty spectacular, actually. It's got rounded corners, which is awesome. It comes in at Quad HD, and it's 16 by 10 at 12.4 inches. So it's got a lot going for it, but it's got excellent viewing angles, really great colors, superb brightness. I don't have a measurement tool on me right now, but I want to say it comes in at 400 nits. It looks like it's 400 nits. It's nice and bright under our studio lights here. And one thing that's interesting with Chromebook displays is sometimes you get what I would call ghosting. And so like when animations happen, you kind of see stuff just trail behind. But with this one, like, these animations look so smooth. And it's not a 120 hertz or 90 hertz screen, but it has some of that feel. Everything just feels really smooth as it moves through. So again, oddly enough, on a Chromebook it's got a lot of downsides, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, this screen is not one of them. It almost feels like Samsung built the screen and the surround and then went, forget it, didn't finish the rest of the Chromebook. Super strange. We did test with the USI pen. It is not USI compatible, which is kind of a bummer, especially in a convertible device. It'd be nice if it was USI compatible, but it is not. The webcam up top is definitely 720p, and though it's a little bit grainy, the colors on it are actually really good. So let me bring it up and see what it does with pointing over in the darkness of the room at Joe here. We'll see. Yeah, brings those up. Obviously, the image is very soft at 720p, but it does a really good job of balancing dynamic range, and colors look nice and saturated. So decent camera when it comes down to it. And then we move down to the bottom portion here, and so that's where things kind of start falling apart. First up, the keyboard. You can kind of hear it. Let me just type for a second. It just kind of sounds cheap. The keys have a lot of float to them on the edges. Let's see if Joe can kind of get in there on those. You can see how much wobble those keys have in the movement, kind of left and right like this. You don't want that. So when you hit them off center, which is going to happen literally constantly, you just don't know that you hit it. The click mechanism's not bad and the travel's not bad. It's just the keys float around and feel kind of, just feels cheap. And that's unfortunate because the keyboard deck itself is pretty firm. So, I mean, like, if they put a decent keyframe in here, it would have been all right. The trackpad is fine for a plastic trackpad. It's set in here really nicely. There's no wobbling. The click mechanism does feel good. But oddly enough, the actual tracking of the single finger movement on the trackpad feels really sluggish. There's no way for me to show this to you, but it almost feels like it's a little behind, but not that like it's lagging. So it starts to move immediately. It's not that. It's just like it does fine when it's accelerating. It's just like the slow movement feels extra slow. And I cranked up the sensitivity and it helped a little bit, but it's I don't know that I've ever encountered a Chromebook that feels like this. It's almost like the DPI on it's like on a mouse, you can change the DPI settings like that. It's not quite configured right. I don't know if that's just this device. We'll do some further testing and maybe even restart it again and see if maybe that helps. But as soon as it came on, it did that, and then it restarted after it updated, and it still kind of felt the same way. It just feels a little strange, a little sluggish. But overall, the touchscreen is nice and responsive. And, other than the typing experience being a little cheap feeling, it's not overall that bad. But then you get into the internals, and it's just not fast. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Like, Jasper Lake is fine. But I just opened this window up. It's already open, and I saw quite a bit of lag just getting this window to open up. Simple things, and if I start opening a few things at once, I'm probably going to run into lag pretty quickly. We're losing a lot of responsiveness pretty quickly. Part of that's due to 4 gigs of RAM, part of it's due to a slow processor, and then part of it's taking those things and forcing them to push a Quad HD screen. Just not a good idea. Again, it feels like they built half of it, and then somebody else built the other half, and they're like, I don't know, put those together, and we'll see what happens. A little confusing, and so, I don't know. Again, just like with the naming of this thing, and I'm sitting here right now trying to close windows. There we go. They're starting to close now. Trying to just close stuff down, and it's struggling. So not going to enjoy a whole lot outside of probably 1 or 2 tab browsing. I did want to show you the speakers as well. So
yes, with it, but now we
pretty
have it
tinny.
in the office. We have it out of the box here on the
kind
desk.
of like it sounds like I'm talking like this.
Things we'd like to tell you about it.
They're laptop speakers. So at the end of the day, that's neither here nor there. The obvious standout here is this screen, and the ability to flip it into tablet mode and do some of your tablet oriented stuff. And it's nice to see it at least be able to flip through your apps and move decently quickly through those. Let's see how it does with a little bit of multitasking. It's handling some of this stuff. Like, I wonder how much maybe Google's working on some of these tablet optimized things to just make them smoother and less intensive. You can see it struggling right there. Whew. Yeah, so I don't know how much worth you're going to get out of using this as a tablet either, but it does feel good in one hand. Like when I hold it up to my, like this and think about actually using something, it's a real shame that I can't, ink and stuff on this. But again, with a processor like this, the inking experience is probably going to be pretty bad too. So I don't know who this is for. I don't know who Samsung built this for. Like, that hinge feels really good too, so I'll say that. There's no magnet holding it closed, but the hinge and the converting process feels pretty good. I'm trying to pick out some good stuff on this because I don't want to completely hate on this device. I don't understand it. I don't understand exactly what Samsung was trying to do with it, unfortunately. And I think had they just put a little bit faster processor in, like, you can forgive the keyboard stuff, you can forgive some of the trackpad weirdness and all that kind of stuff if it just got along a little quicker. And there's just too many options out there with decent processors for decent money. And again, we picked this up for $350. It's on sale. If it was priced a little bit lower, maybe that would be something. And so I don't know. I just don't know what to think about this. It's hard to recommend, but I will say this. It's easy to give away. And if you enter to win and get one for free, well, it's a free Chromebook. Like, it still has some upside on it. That screen is really nice to look at, I will say that. And if you're doing easy tasks on it, the performance isn't going to wear you out either. And so as a device kind of around the house, I think it could be pretty good. And so when we talk about price, that's a problem if it doesn't really do what you need it to do all the time at work and that kind of stuff, or at school. But if it's free and it's just sitting around your house, well, that's a whole different story. And so that's why we wanted to buy this and then turn around and give it away. So if you'll check the link in the description, there will be all the details you need down there to get entered to win. And basically, we're going to run this giveaway until we hit 250,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And we hope that's quick, but the more people that subscribe, so share this out with people you know, the more people that subscribe, the faster we get to that number, the quicker we get to pull that name and give this device away. So we'll give it a proper wipe down, we'll get it all reset, package it back up kind of like it was new, and we'll send this out to one lucky winner of that giveaway. But for now, that's it for this one. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Head down there, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to ring the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted when we make future videos just like this one. Till next time, we'll see you.